If you close your eyes and give yourself just a brief inhale in the morning, you can go ahead and almost taste that college football season. It's right around the corner. Yes, indeed. Summer school, classes in session, a true cram session coming your way over the next 45 minutes. All things college football, current events. We're going to have some fun with a snake draft as far as drafting the national champion. Got some other odds and ends before we get out of here. We'll even close up shop with some rapid fire, as we often do. And it's going to be a fun episode coming your way. Once again, joining us, top right-hand corner, Mark Henry Jr., host of the Tough Cover Radio Show every Saturday. Mark, how we doing?
Doing great. Can't wait.
My man, Tansy, on the bottom right-hand part of your screen. Read him at crossingbroad.com. Cash and tickets is what he's all about. How we doing, Joe?
Good. There aren't enough we don't have enough teams for 3 rounds in the snake draft.
That third round's going to be fun.
The third round is going to be just throwing darts.
Duke. I'm in on Duke. And finally,
this is college football, not basketball.
Mm-hmm. Shit. I just cursed. I didn't even win that with them. They choked. Way to bring that one back up. That one hurt. Ryan Beef Coyle, our returning champion. Beef, how we doing?
Was just watching the SEC new series on Netflix. So the football itch is definitely itching. If you haven't watched it yet, recommend it. I think I'm 3 episodes in, but it's really cool, really good stuff, and just another thing to help pass the time before a few weeks from now when we get live action.
DJ Lagway in bubble tape yet, or does he have like a neck brace and a walking boot? What's the latest as far as Lagway is concerned with the SEC show?
Well, it's from last year, but their quarterback last year, Graham Mertz, got hurt, and then he went in. So it might just be a Florida thing at this stage.
Yeah,
DJ Lagway might as well be DJ Roethlisberger at this point.
Unbelievable. We will talk about him. But, folks, let's go ahead. We're going to dive right into it. I had an idea with Heisman Trophy to snake draft the Heisman Trophy winner, and Mark Henry Jr. said, you know what? I think it would be even cooler if we did a national champion. And I totally agree with him because it's more to involve everybody. The Heisman Trophy is throwing darts up against the wall, but I'm really more interested myself, and I'm sure a lot of other people are as well, on who we really think has a realistic chance at winning a national championship this year. So let's dive right into it. Right from the jump, let's not waste any time, and let's go ahead and see if we can pick the national champion. Of course, we have the order. We're going to do it a snake draft. And after you pick your team, 30 to 60 seconds, we'll see who's eliminated. We'll keep it moving, but I'm really intrigued, and I think this is going to hit a number of those questions. Of course, we're going to talk a ton about, I would assume, the Big Ten and the ACC with our selections. I would assume. We'll find out if I am right about that. What did I say?
ACC.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. SEC and Big 12. Yeah, sorry.
And Big 12?
Big 10. I'm all over the place. Big 10. We'll edit that one out. All right. Our order is as follows. Mark Henry Jr. is going first. Beef is second. Tansy third. I'm fourth. Snake draft. So you know what that means. I'll go back to back. We'll send it down to Tansy. But let's go ahead and open it up. Selection number 1, overall national champion, according to Mark Henry Jr., who's first off the board.
I know I said last week that I was quacking it up, and I do love the Ducks, and I think they're a top 2 team in the country. The last week or so, I've turned a little bit to another Big Ten team that starts with O. I'm going to the defending national champions. I'm going back to the Ohio State well. I've been thinking it over, and I'm kind of just shocked at the way I feel like in some – I mean, they're obviously ranked, 1 or 2? Is Texas 1 and Ohio State's 2, right? So they're ranked 2, and I think part of that is because they want that 1-2 matchup. So I think that there's maybe some incentive out there for the coaches and rankers to make it a 1-2 matchup for that week 1. To me, it seems like you listen to a lot of the podcasts, Penn State, a lot of these other teams are kind of bypassing Ohio State in this national championship discussion. In my opinion, Ohio State might have the 2 best players in the country. Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. They do. Yeah,
they do.
It might be inarguable. Yeah, I think that they are the 2 best players in the country. Obviously, they also returned 4/5 of their offensive line. You look at the quarterback, like, are we really, like, missing Will Howard? Like, I think Julian Sayin probably will slot in and be fine. Like I think Will Howard was fine. I think he kept the train on the tracks. Maybe it's early on in the year where it's tougher saying, but the big thing I keep coming back to with Ohio State and Oregon and why I like them so much more than Penn State, they only have Penn State on their schedule. They don't play each other. Like I think Ohio State and Oregon are going 11-1 bare minimum. Like let's say and I think one of them is probably going to go undefeated. That's my opinion, but I'm going to go with Ohio State here.
Love it. Beef, number 2. Where you at?
I'm going to go with Georgia. I think they're going into the year a little bit under talked about, and I think that's kind of right where they want to be. They got the chance now Kirby has that chance to kind of use that as some motivation headed into the year. I think Gunnar Stockton is kind of the better fit there, quarterback over Carson Beck, just because I trust him to take care of the football a little bit better. Really like the defense as always. And when you look at their schedule, I think they're going to be favored in every game. When you get favored in every game, you get the chance to be that number 1 seed. We saw how it worked out last year with the number 1 seed with Oregon, but I think Georgia will be favored in every game. I think they'll enter the college football playoff as the number 1 seed, the highest odds to win it all. So I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs right now.
Gunnar Stockton and those Georgia Bulldogs, 7-1. Beef like second off the board. All right, and Ohio State was plus 550. Tansy, over to you. Third selection.
Clemson.
Whoa.
There are 7 teams by my judgment here that are already in the college football playoff.
Ooh, I like that.
Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. Mark, look, they're all getting in. Doesn't matter what the records are. It's a matter of who gets the automatic bye out of the Big Ten.
I agree.
Same thing with Georgia, Texas, and most likely Alabama out of the SEC. And then there's Clemson in the ACC. Think about it this way. If you want a team to win a national championship, you only want to win 3 games, right? Getting that 4th could be dicey. You never know. Clemson's going to win the ACC. They're pretty much sharpied in by every expert under the sun at this point. So why not just take a team that's guaranteed to be in the quarterfinal and not mess around with the first round game?
Well, they don't get the bye anymore, right? With the top 4 is just the top 4. So they would have to earn that bye and go 12-0. The thing I think we're ignoring about Clemson, and this is not a Tansy thing. Brandon Walker, I think, is picking them to go to the championship. I've seen a lot of championship buzz about them. They have I think outside of the ACC, maybe like one of the hardest non-cons in the country.
Well, look,
I will say, regardless of format, I think they're going to – it changes on me like 10 times. But, yeah, I would still go with them regardless. I still think they'll be a top 4 team.
I think Clemson is most likely a lock for that championship game, right? The ACC championship game. Of course, if they win that, they get the automatic bid. They're in. That's a team that's battle-tested, multiple national champions, and everybody's high as hell on them. That's for sure. So you're not out of the box on that selection. But what is crazy is that the favorite is still on the board in Texas. And you know what? They will still remain on the board because with the 4th overall selection in our snake draft on who's going to win the national championship, I'm going to Alabama. Bama, baby. Roll damn tide. Plus 1,000. I like the Boer, of course. I like his system. Ethan was good last year. Still good wide receivers. I know the question mark as far as with the quarterback play, but I just think Alabama's going to have a hell of a season this year. And it's not – we talked a lot about it 2 weeks ago. It's not to say that no one's giving them a chance. They're not going to be able to play that card. But I feel like they are being a little slept on. That's all. And I like that. So I'm definitely going to take Alabama there at plus 1,000. Love Bama. Roll damn tide. Mark Henry Jr., do you have a take?
Yeah, I like the pick. I have a couple teams ahead of them, but I have them 7th on my kind of big board, and I think there's a clear top 8 for me. The Clemson thing, I think I cut out. I just wanted to chime in. Having to play LSU at the beginning of your schedule and South Carolina at the end of your schedule, and if you just look in terms of like an ACC draw, I think Clemson has a tougher ACC draw than I think people would give it credit for. Now, maybe the ACC is just total trash and they go through it. I actually think there's a couple teams at the top that could be competitive. I don't have Clemson in the playoff. I'm a little lower on Clemson than consensus. I know that's like I'm pretty consensus in my playoff outside of that. that's my one kind of hot take. I do like the Bama pick. I weirdly feel better about Bama. Like, I almost feel like Bama's a lock to make the playoff, but I don't look at them like a national title contender yet. Maybe that's just not having seen the quarterback yet. But I think they'll be there.
To the Clemson point, I don't think South Carolina's gonna be that good.
That's fair. If you're not a South Carolina believer,
I think they're way too high.
Even if they're a 7 or 8 SEC win, even if they're a 7 or 8 win SEC team, I think that's a difficult. I think it's on the road. I could be mistaken there, but even if it's 7 or 8 win team, I think that's a difficult test at the end of the schedule. But yeah, if you're out on South Carolina, it makes it a little an easier road.
All right. And then back to me, and this is an easy one, boys and girls, because if the number one team is on the board, you got to take them at plus 550. And it's all about Arch. I'm a believer in Arch. For years, we've been wondering whether or not Texas is back. Well, they are back. Sark's got that program grooving in the right direction. I know they had a lot of things to rebuild in the offseason, so hopefully they were able to shore that up, protect Arch, especially on the offensive line. But man, I do believe in the kid. I think he is a future number one overall pick. And you know what? To be honest with you, I did hear a couple comments in the last 2 weeks, the thing that we talked about 2 weeks ago, whether or not he's gone. And there was split feelings on that. So I think that he could come back. Even if they win a national championship, he might say, I still want to return. We'll see what happens. But I got to go Texas, plus 550 on DraftKings Sportsbook favorite here. Number one overall. They're tied at this point in time with Ohio State. So I got Bama and Texas. I feel pretty good about my plays there.
Well, then I'll take Penn State. That's pretty easy.
There it is. Tansy goes PSU at plus 700. Why?
I mean, I know more about the quarterback than I do at Oregon. I know more about the running back tandem. And like I said a few weeks ago, I'm not worried about them losing Abdul Carter. It's about, the tale as old as time. Can Penn State have a passing game with more than one target? And I think that if that's our biggest concern here about Penn State, well, it's just like every other year, isn't it? There's better quarterback play than there has been. I'm not saying Drew Aller is perfect, but when you look at you cast the net this year after Arch and Cade Klubnik, I mean, where a lot of these guys can develop. Julian Sayin can develop. Dante Moore can develop. Whoever Alabama's starter ends up being can develop. Gunnar Stockton, again, all these guys can develop into the top guy in the country. But right now, at least we know, look, it's not perfect with Drew Aller, but if he's worked on some things in the offseason, and if this wide receiver group is even 20% better than last year's, they're going to be improved. They're going to miss Tyler Warren, of course, but if the wide receiver play is better, you can absorb that. With the amount of returners and the quarterback, look, we know they're going, bare minimum 10-2.
All right, Penn State off the board. Beef, over to you, sir.
I'm going to take the Fighting Irish right in front of Mark here. I like Notre Dame to go 12-0. I think that if Notre Dame does go 12-0, I think that it's going to be hard to not at least give them the 2 seed. So another team with a pretty favorable path. And just like with Georgia, I think you look at their schedule, I think there's a chance that they're favored in every game. The toughest game, I think, is probably on that schedule, Texas A&M, and you get them at home. So I like them to be favored in every game. Can they avoid that one slip-up game? It's like they go to Arkansas. Does Arkansas pull off a stunner? USC, what do we get out of them this year? There's always that one game we saw with last year. I hate to bring it up, Mark, but the Northern Illinois game. Did they just not show up one of these games, and that dings them up a bit? But I don't think they have any team on the schedule this year that'll hurt it kind of that bad, national perspective-wise. So for Marcus Freeman to take that team from where it looked like a low point in the program last year and take them all the way to the national title tells me everything I need to know about kind of the belief he gets in that locker room. It is just a situation where what do we get out of the quarterback? They're rolling a new guy here with CJ Carr, but I'm a huge fan of Mike Denbrock. I'm a huge fan of Jeremiah Love. I like them to go 12-0, so stupid not to have them as my second overall pick here.
The quarterback reports are making me nervous. It definitely seems like neither one of them is grabbing the job. They're really leaving it open for both Carr and Minchie. Both seem like they're talented. Carr was like a 5-star. Minchie's like a dual threat type of guy. So it'll be interesting to see. That's kind of I I wouldn't have taken Notre Dame. Notre Dame would be third best available on my board. So I have them sixth available, sixth overall. But I agree with you, though. The schedule's friendly this year. The one thing I'll say is, like, they'll probably be favored in every game, and A&M and Miami are probably their two toughest games, which aren't that tough, I'd say. But I'd say, like, they have like eight or nine like good teams that they play. Like there's not a lot of like layups on the schedule necessarily, but there's not a lot of like really marquee games either. So it's an interesting kind of schedule. You can't like coast through any games, and I think they probably will get got once. I mean, they've shown that that's kind of been an error in the Marcus Freeman years. But I have the number 2 and 3 teams on my board available at 8 and 9 here. So I'm psyched. I'm taking Oregon. I telegraphed that at the number 1 pick when I almost took them over Ohio State. I've talked a lot about Oregon. I'm buying in as everybody else I feel like is fading. I kind of love that Oregon is the sleeping team and nobody's picking them. Ohio State and Penn State are the focus, and even Penn State to a bigger degree than Ohio State. And even you have all these other teams in the SEC taking the focus over Oregon, Clemson taking the focus over Oregon. I believe in Dan Lanning. If you're giving me one coach in the country who hasn't gotten over the top and hasn't won the big one, I would take Dan Lanning as the guy who's going to get over the top in these next couple of years. There that's not this year, but I love that Oregon only has the Penn State game. You go through the rest of that schedule, the hardest games are like at Washington. I think there might be an at Nebraska in there. There's a team like that from the Big Ten that should win 7 or 8 games that they're going to, but not a brutal schedule for the Duckies. So I'll go with Oregon at 8, and then my number 9 pick is my number 3 overall team, and this could go. I could say Texas or Georgia should probably be ahead of them, but I'm aboard the Nuss bus. I'm all aboard Nussmeier and LSU. My family, Brian Kelly down there. Everybody knows that I love Brian Kelly, but I think that it's hard to deny how good that this roster is. If Harold Perkins can get back going and in the position that he played when he kind of broke out a couple of years ago on the defensive side of the ball, that's going to be the big thing here. The defense was just terrible 2 years ago, a little better last year, but not good enough to, compete and make the playoffs. And now it's got to really step up and be an SEC level defense. I think the offense we know is going to be there. You look at the talent, the O-line, Nussmeier, they're going to be there. And that's over these last couple of years, that LSU offense is a machine. And I think they're going to keep churning it out, but it's going to come down to the defense. I'm buying in that they have it figured out this year on defense.
All right, 9 picks made, and the top 9 on DraftKings odds-on favorite to win a national championship are all gone. So now it gets a little interesting here. Back to beef. Once again, LSU is plus 1,600, and the Oregon Ducks are at 12-1. Oh, excuse me. I'm way off today, aren't I? Yeah,
you were right.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, got it. All right, on to beef. Next one up.
All right, so with that last pick by Mark, I think the national championship window is closed. I don't really think outside of that group, there's really an ideal pick after that. So let's have some fun. Let's go wild card here. I'm going to go with South Carolina. I've been hyping up Lenore Sellers. If he's as good as I think he's going to be, have that Cam Newton-esque, Auburn season, take them to the promised land. They have one of the tougher schedules in the country, but if he balls out, even if they go, 10-2, 9-3 with that schedule, I think they'll still find their way into the playoffs. So let's get a little, freaky here with this last pick. If I'm picking Sellers to win the Heisman, they're going to be in that contention there for the playoffs. So give me Lenore Sellers and the Gamecocks.
Plus 7K. Go ahead, Mark.
I had them 11. You took them at 9. I don't hate that value at all. There's only one team available I would have taken the swing on over them. But South Carolina, if they hit, I do think they have a chance to hit big.
All right. Joe Tanzi, your final selection?
Beef, you're doing it all wrong. Going with a chancy pick from the SEC. I mean, come on. They're a top 15 preseason team. That's not even having any fun with it at all. If you're gonna have actual fun with it, and I mean, this one really doesn't matter because there are 9 teams that can win the title, and the 9 teams we picked. So let's go to the conference we haven't talked about yet. Let's take a total flyer, a dart throw, a team that is plus 20,000 to win the national championship. The Iowa State Cyclones.
Oh,
McClay.
That's how you do it, Beef.
McClay's got a lady in his room down the hall, but that might have gotten the most excited tonight.
McClay, that dog. Love it. Tansy, why? Why Iowa State? Obviously, besides taking a shot, but what are we missing?
Somebody's got to win the Big 12. Somebody's got to get into the playoff from the Big 12, right?
Yeah.
And last year, did any of us think at this point in the season Arizona State was that team? No, absolutely not. I still think Matt Campbell's a heck of a coach. His window to get to a bigger job has slammed shut. They do have a returning quarterback, Rocco Becht. That's half the battle at this point in college football, where quarterbacks are going here, there, and everywhere. And look, we're just throwing darts here. That's really all it is. I think Iowa State's a team that, regardless of what happens in Dublin against K-State, which is still the weirdest matchup ever in the weirdest location, but I think Arizona State, I don't think they're going to be as good. I think they'll be good, but not as good. Colorado's going to take a dip. Just had two really, really good college football players on their team last year, and they're not there anymore. So I really do think it's a crapshoot in the Big 12. So why not throw a dart?
I dig it. And
What
the last
the horned furry frogs?
Oh God, what a story that is. And
That's our week 1 bet, Mark.
Let's go.
Is that a real deal
I can't
though?
get confirmation. Okay. I can't figure out how real or fake the Josh Hoover situation is.
Yeah, it seems like it could be ball sack area.
Yeah,
getting sacked.
Centel.
But it's so perfectly college football, though.
God. So yeah, if people that don't know, forgive me. The quarterback's name,
Josh Hoover. Stud.
And he pointed out, or apparently they put a picture out on Instagram where he was at a furry convention, and it was something like, "I'm furry and I'm proud," and it is taken over, that's for sure. But I kind of dig it if it's real. Like, all right, dude.
It kind of vibes with the TCU vibe they've been giving off, because what is it with the frog they do with every winning graphic? No, they've done with the Hypnotoad.
Yeah.
They do it throughout. I mean, some of their graphics have been really freaky over the last few years on social media. So it wouldn't surprise me that it fits right in with the vibe they're selling down there in Fort Worth.
All right, over to me. Final pick here, and it's a toss-up, like we said. I just want to pull up a spread real quick just to make sure that I know what the hell I'm talking about, because I thought it was somewhat close for this week 1 matchup. All right, it is. Anyways, so the one thing I would say from where I was at with these teams that remain, it comes down to schedule, right? You don't want to take somebody like Oklahoma. They have a death schedule in front of them.
They're not going to be good anyway.
Yeah, everyone's trying to sell them. Obviously, Ole Miss could potentially get it done. But again, that's a tough battle-tested SEC, so good luck on that one. Michigan, I'm not buying. I can't wait to see what the quarterback looks like, but I'm not buying it with that one. I'm going to go with a proven quarterback. I get it. He did it with a different team, but I'm buying the U, and they open up against Notre Dame, where they're 2.5-point favorites. If they get by the Irish, they will take down Florida. They're going to be better than Florida State. Sure, they got Louisville on the schedule, but that's it. After that, it's a cakewalk. Give me the U as my third and final team. And once again,
somebody forgot about Mario Cristobal's entire track record as the Miami head coach.
Yeah,
Notre Dame are the favorites, by the way. I don't know if you
2.5.
Yeah, Notre Dame by 2.5 there. I think you picked the wrong Notre Dame opponent. I think the Notre Dame opponent on the board to take is the one they're taking 2 weeks later. If I'm taking a shot outside the top 9, I would go A&M. I think Marcel Reed, full season, Elko, second year, they got a ton of transfers in. A&M, if I was taking a shot outside of the obvious national title contenders, they'd be the one that I would take a look at.
They got a difficult schedule too. They take on LSU. They got South Carolina. They got
Notre Dame.
Texas, Notre Dame. Damn, A&M. That's a tough one, man. Like
Right. I think if they go 10-2 with that schedule, they'll get in. With how many tough wins they'd have to have.
I think it's more surprising if a team in the SEC has an easy schedule at this point. Yeah. Like what? I mean, Missouri. What else do you expect?
Missouri.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain teams that take advantage of the easy schedules in conference play. I think Missouri might have done that 2 years ago as well. But look, to me, sure, if you have 6 or 7 ranked opponents on your SEC schedule, that's what you signed up for. I don't have any sympathy for you. I don't think it's tough. Like, it's the SEC. It's the toughest conference in college football. This is what you signed up for. So if you play 6 to 7 ranked opponents each year, that's what it is. If you play less than, I say, 4 to 5, then I think we should be shocked and really kind of set expectations on a team like that, because then okay, the schedule sets up easy for you this year, a la like an Indiana last year, right? I mean, there's a reason why these teams come out of nowhere and we just don't see them coming, because we're not talking about an Indiana or an Arizona State, but the schedule ends up opening up for them where maybe they're better than they think they are, right? And then all of a sudden, they're actually good. Now, can they contend with the top of the top? No, but they're still a very good football team, and there's always 1 or 2 of them each year. Who knows who those teams are, right? But I think if you're the SEC, I don't think anybody's going to jump out on the radar. Like, if you have a tough schedule, I mean, so be it.
There are, look, I just putting a cap on that one. Like you said, SEC, you're going to have a difficult schedule no matter what. But there are, Florida's probably got the most difficult schedule, right, in the conference. Like, it's easy to say. Who do we just say had the most ranked teams? Oklahoma, Mississippi State. Like, there are levels to it, I guess I would say.
The teams who got a break are really Georgia and Missouri. If you look at their schedule, I think the SEC did Georgia a little bit of a solid. Then Missouri, the way that they just – I think certain teams you're locked into in the SEC to play, and Missouri's gotten lucky with the teams they've been locked into not being good, like Kentucky and a couple other teams like that. But they were the teams that got lucky. I'm seeing Tennessee as one of the lower strength of schedules in the SEC. You go through the schedule. I don't think that's an easy schedule. But I think Georgia and Missouri are really the teams that got lucky, and Vandy, Mississippi State, Florida, Oklahoma are really the teams that got screwed. Everything else is kind of probably,
right. And
half a dozen of the other.
To your point, there are teams that are locked in, right? Because they're natural rivals. Like Arkansas is always going to play LSU. They're always going to play Missouri, or at least they're going to try to. So these natural built-in rivals, some of them are just more difficult than others. I mean, look at A&M. Their natural built-in rival is Texas. Look at Oklahoma. Their natural built-in rival is Texas as well. So already having one built in makes it more difficult.
And A&M made their secondary rival LSU when they entered the SEC when they didn't have Texas there, which is like now you got Texas too. Congrats.
Some other topics we're going to get into now, just to let everybody know. We'll put out a graphic a little bit later, of course, tomorrow. If you're listening to us right now, never miss anything at foxphogambler.com. But we got 12 teams up, and we'll see if we get the national champion. I would assume that the national champion is on this list. I would hope the national champion. Although if it's not, that's going to be a hell of a season. And it all gets started in 2 weeks. All right, speaking of national championship, just curious because things change. College football is so different than last year, even more different than the year before, and we're going to continue to evolve, and who knows what's going to happen in 3 to 5 to 10 years' time. But knowing what we know last year, Beef, I'll start with you on this one, and we'll come around. Do polls matter? Do preseason polls matter? Of course, you know where I'm going with this. We just had the coaches poll, top 25. Now, some conferences have did away with preseason polls. They don't want any, bias coming in. I would argue that I think no matter if you release these polls or not, we're still going to have bias to Georgia, to teams that are bringing back quarterbacks. I don't think we're going to be pulling a team out of thin air. But again, that's just one man's opinion. Knowing what we know after last year and all the chaos that went on, of course, making the playoffs. Beef, I'll start with you. Does the preseason coaches poll mean a damn thing?
I still think it has some merit just for, outside perspective and give everyone kind of a glimpse of where these teams are. But when you can look at last year. Florida State entered the season at number 9. They finished the season 2-10. You look at Arizona State; they were projected to finish last place in the Big 12. They go to the college football playoff and nearly knock off Texas. Like, you still got to go out there and play the games. But I think now with the expanded playoff, they mean less, because I feel like earlier when it was just, the 14 playoff, or when it was just 1 and 2, obviously meant more, because if you were up there, you were going to stay up there, unless you lost and there was a legit reason to push you back. Now with the ever changing playoff, it means a lot more week to week, I think, in terms of just these teams kind of shuffling around. So you still got to go out there, play the game, but there's still plenty of opportunities to make it the end goal, which is to go to the playoffs. So I say it still has a little bit of merit, but not nearly as much as it used to.
Tansy, over to you. Do polls, or the preseason poll, coaches poll specifically, does it matter?
I mean, they're both the same, the AP and the coaches. It's just the coaches gets released 2 weeks beforehand. They're going to be the same. Last year there was, I think, only 3 or 4 instances of variance between the two polls. So what we see right now with the coaches poll is basically what we're going to see with the AP poll. I think it matters to show us which teams are the best. I mean, look at last year's preseason AP top 10. It's Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Bama, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan, Florida State. FSU is really the only significant miss on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those teams were in the national conversation until the end. Again, teams are going to emerge, right? They're going to be teams like an Arizona State or an Indiana. It happens every year. There's always 1 or 2 surprise teams. So I think in terms of just setting the tone for the season, I think it matters. But it also is, it's not teaching us, I guess, anything new. I mean, you'll see all these major media sites, they're way too early. Top 25 is out the morning after the national championship, and it really doesn't vary from that point on. So from January 21st to August 6th, we have an idea of who these teams are. It's just they aren't officially put numbers next to them.
Mark Henry Jr.?
So if they didn't have these rankings, we would just be using the gambling odds, which is what these rankings are mostly based on. If you look at the rankings, they're pretty influenced by the gambling odds. Until you get to like the later, people want to include like the SMUs and the teams that maybe made runs last year, the Indianas and teams like that. Maybe then it's not as influenced. It's like partially the rankings from the end of last year with like a dash of the gambling odds and the teams that have the buzz this year, like LSU being ranked high and Texas Tech making it in the top 25, despite not really being there at the end of last year because they went out and spent a bunch of money, but they don't feel comfortable putting them higher than like 24. So it's mostly, it's stuff for us to talk about when there's not much to talk about.
It is good that we got number 1 versus number 2, though. I think that's from a college football standpoint. Look, it's August. We're in the middle of baseball season, whatever. But to now set from this point on to August 30th, we have number 1 versus number 2 starting off the season. Obviously, good for the networks. Fox can build that up left and right. But to have us be like, oh, we have number 1 versus number 2, the first major set of games.
Oh, I think he froze up.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, look, that 1 versus 2. There's a lot of games there. There he is. Yeah, Joe, you froze up a little bit. But there's so many good games in that week 1 window. Mm-hmm. But, man, that's the top dog. It's amazing that we're getting that at noon.
I still hate that. That should be a primetime game.
Should be. You're right. But I'll take it where
Clemson and prime.
It's on a back consolation prize.
You could play that game at Monday at 9 a.m. Like, I don't care. Let's go.
I want 1v2 week 1 in prime time.
Oh my goodness.
Like the good old days.
I'm just happy you get Ohio State, Texas at noon. You get LSU, Clemson at night. You get Notre Dame, Miami on Sunday. And then we get to bet on the Furry Frogs on Monday against North Carolina. That's just a weekend of college football.
So many good games. We'll talk a little bit about anything that's appealing to you over the last 2 weeks, maybe that you have dove into and came across a stat that's making you a believer before we get out of here. I do want to bring this up, though. Roger Goodell with the ESPN purchase of all things NFL. It seems like the ESPN is controlling everything. What a day for them as far as the Red Zone, NFL, and WWE. Any volunteers here for the Red Zone channel? Anybody want to throw their resume into the hat?
What is there? Is Scott Hansen not in?
Well, no, for the college football Red Zone. College
yeah.
football Red Zone is going to be coming.
If I ran college football Red Zone, it would be the Sun Belt and the AAC. That's the reason why I won't watch college football Red Zone, because it'll be dictated by anybody with ESPN rights. It'll be all SEC. When it gets to the middle of the season, October, November, and I'm belting on Texas State versus UL Monroe, I can't find that on Red Zone.
Is there any argument that like these other networks should let ESPN air that stuff on their Red Zone almost as like an advertisement for that network? If it's like including all of that network on ESPN, like you're looking at ESPN and it's a CBS game, like isn't that
already the case with the NFL? Like in a way, because it's CBS and Fox.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's different because the NFL is as a league like has those relationships, whereas it's obviously it's a little different, but it works perfectly. Like it would be awesome if ESPN, even if you have to give NBC and CBS and a couple of Fox a couple $1 million. I feel like it would only be beneficial to everybody for that Red Zone channel to actually be a full comprehensive thing of all the networks. But Joe's right. If it's not, then it's just going to be the Big 12 and the SEC and whatever the ESPN has this year.
I do want to point out that the folks over at Westwood One on radio, they do a tremendous job with their day. And if you're in the car and you got to drive, that is a must listen. It keeps you up. They whip around with the best of them. And yeah, like you said, Joe, I think you're spot on with that. They don't lock it just to the SEC or Big Ten or anything as far as like, with contracts, but we know how that works.
I need a gambling Red Zone. I need like Stanford Steve and like a few of the DJs at ESPN.
Yeah. I
want like, if we're going to do college football Red Zone, let's do a college football gambling Red Zone. Because let's be honest, the South Carolina LSU and 5 other SEC games, I can watch that regularly. But if it's college football and it's 3:30 and I have 2 or 3 TVs every Saturday when I'm home, and at least one of them has a mid-major on. Like I need somebody that can do the entire thing. It can't just be
you're right.
On ESPN, it's the SEC.
You're right.
I need the DJs.
You're spot on, because what happens in late October, November, maybe hell even earlier than that, probably first week of October, second week of October. Now instead of focusing on the big dogs, the teams that are going to be national championship aspirations, come on, man, it's a 3:30 game. You got Wake Forest versus Duke. Like we need to know more about the spread. You better have somebody that knows the total coming in. Maybe some first half lines, whatever it may be, that obviously would entice the viewer to watch a little bit more, but make things interesting. So I think you're right. If you're going to do a Red Zone, have a little bit of a gambling angle to it.
Manny Diaz paying Brace to get Duke brought up on the show. But Tansy's right spot on the name. Stanford Steve is the guy who should host that 100%.
By the way, you're not a true college football fan if you won't have like FAU Maryland or Mississippi State Southern Miss watching on the side while you're watching Texas Ohio State. It's the first week of college football season. Yeah, it's Texas Ohio State. It's 1 versus 2. But you're damn right there's going to be a bet on one of those other noon games. And, it's Northwestern, Tulane, whatever it may be. There will be a second TV. This is how we operate as college football.
Steve Angeli in Syracuse as a live dog in Neyland Stadium against Tennessee. I don't know.
All right.
I think that's neutral.
Is it? Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's in Atlanta.
I like it more now. Oh, I like that.
All right, quickly on this one, did come across a list. Love a good list, especially preseason, and we could talk about some quarterbacks. How about the top 25 best college football quarterbacks of the last 25 years? Of course, takes us back to 2000. I'm just curious, is it unanimous? Will you guys be able to tell me who's number 1 on that list?
Is it Cam?
Joe? Beef?
I go Tebow, I would think.
No. Oh, for
was
2.
Was it Cam? I froze a little bit.
No, you froze up
Vince
again.
Young?
0 for 3. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is
I
number
did not
one.
say that.
No, I know you did not say that, but
Oh,
Mark
I
Henry
thought you were
Jr.
saying congrats.
No. Mark Henry Jr. had Joe Burrow. And of course, this is the top. This isn't just for a season. So it's the quarterbacks of the past 25 years. But it is 1 Joe Burrow, Cam Newton 2, 3 Vince Young, 4 Tim Tebow, and then 5 Matt Leinart. Those are your top 5.
Yeah. Where's Johnny?
It goes Lamar 6, Baker
Yeah.
7, Johnny 8, Trevor 9, and then Marcus Mariota at Oregon in 10.
You can make the case Joe Burrow should be outside the top 5.
Who was 3, 4, 5? Leinart was 5. Who was 3 and 4?
Cam Newton was 2, Vince Young was 3, Tim Tebow 4, Matt Leinart 5. I'll go ahead and tweet this out.
It should be Cam, Vince, Tebow, Leinart in some order, and Johnny. That's the 5.
Cam only had 1 year too.
I think Cam and Burrow. I mean, Burrow had more than 1 year, but it's really you're only talking about the 1 year. The first year they went like 8 and 4. I do think Cam and Burrow had the 2 best seasons. It becomes difficult to do you compare one season to Tebow had like a 4-year run or whoever you want to say. If we're doing who had the best runs, Kellen Moore went like 56 and 3 or whatever he went in his 4 years there at Boise State. But I think you could argue Baker maybe belongs a little higher if we're just talking about guys who were there for a while and put up big numbers for a while, won a Heisman.
Tebow and Manziel, if we're talking overall package in college football, are 1-2.
Cultural impact.
Very, very easily 1-2. And then you can debate the rest.
I think Cam was a huge deal too.
Yeah, Cam was, but I think if you're talking overall bodywork seasons.
Oh yeah.
It's got to be Tebow and Manziel are the 2 that were just generational.
RG3, I hate to say, he had a hell of a season too.
Oh yeah, it just
Watson too.
RG3's mattered less than Cam and Burrows because they went 9 and 3. Same with Lamar, who I loved, but.
All right, we'll wrap up on this one. I know everybody's been doing their deep dives and digging a little bit more, so I was wondering if you could wow us on the way out with a stat or a trend or a play or something that has caught your attention over the last 2 weeks since the last time we met. Once again, we got live action in 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. It opens up Iowa State, Kansas State on August the 23rd. Then speaking of Boise State, they get the party started the following Thursday on August 28th at 5:30 p.m. The Hector House is going to be on fire in 2 weeks. Beef, have you dug anything up that's made you push one way or the other here?
I think as we get a little closer to the season, I'm buying a little bit more in on Michigan. Last year, they lost 5 games, I think it was. Or excuse me, not Michigan, USC. They lost a combined 5 games by 19 total points. So, the ball bounces one way or the other. That could be a 9-win team, I think, last year. I like Maava in the second year for USC. I think they have a pretty doable schedule. So I like USC kind of to have a bounce back year, 9 wins to 10 wins potentially.
I thought that was a difficult schedule. You got Oregon, you got Notre Dame. Look, again, I think everyone could sit here and pick apart anybody's schedule, but I was looking at USC for my last pick, and I thought it was a pretty difficult schedule. What do you see in that makes it a little life easier? Illinois, that's a team with expectations, partly because they don't play a lot of people, but still there are people that believe that they're going to do something this year. But Notre Dame, as I said, on that schedule, Michigan on that schedule, Oregon on that schedule, Iowa on that schedule could potentially be something to watch this year.
There's only 2 games that I think they're guaranteed underdogs in. The rest, I think there's 3 or 4 coin flip games. And it goes back to what I said about last year. When you lose 5 games by a combined 19 points, you have to think that's probably going to go the other way, at some point. If not, then, that's strictly on coaching. That's strictly a potentially fireable offense if you're not able to pull out any of those close games. But, they lose the Penn State game last year. They arguably outplayed Penn State that entire time. They lose to Maryland by 1. They lost a handful of these close games that goes the other way. Instead of last year, what they were 7-6, they're 9-3 or 10-3 last year. So I think a bounce back is coming. I really like Maeva in the second year for Lincoln. He's made 3 Heisman winning quarterbacks. This guy's going to be at least, in the running if this team's pretty decent.
Tansy, you dig anything up?
No, but I'll give you a hot take.
Bring it.
Georgia Tech's going to win by double digits in Boulder. Week 1, Friday night on ESPN.
Would love to see it.
Games
What's the spread in that? Is it 6?
4.
4.
I'd take the alt up to like 11.
Wow. Now, from everything I've read, they have a decent quarterback at Colorado. It seems like they have a better team on the inside, a little bit better, more beef up front on offense.
This is all Georgia Tech. Haynes King has had a better season last year. One of the better dual threat quarterbacks. I like a lot what Georgia Tech is cooking up.
Yeah, look, there's not expectations, but I guess the belief is there. Let's put it that way for Georgia Tech.
Which is more than you can say at Georgia Tech in a while.
Long time. You're right about that. Since they were running the wishbone triple option. All right, yeah. Over to you, Mark Henry Jr. Anything that you have stumbled across over these last 2 weeks?
Everybody else is going positive, of course. I'm me, so I'll go negative. I'll go pessimistic. There's a team out there with a win total that I just don't understand, and it's in the SEC. I mean, we how many SEC teams have we thrown out there today? And this team has not come up. And I'll throw out some names here. There are one counting on radio is always electric. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 teams with a win total of 7.5. The first 5. You've got Oklahoma, Missouri, Florida, South Carolina, Texas A&M. All of those are around -110, give or take, a bettable number, really, at 7.5. And all those teams have something to be excited about, right? Like Oklahoma, whether you're in on them or not, John Mateer, Jaden Ott, those are big names to go get. Tough schedule, but there's some talent there. Missouri, really easy schedule. If you're buying in on them, you could I know Brandon Walker thinks they're going to go like 10-2. Florida, DJ Lagway, there's a lot to be excited about in Florida. South Carolina, Beef has Lenore Sellers winning the Heisman. Texas A&M, I have them going 10-2 and going to the playoff. And then the other team that's 7.5, and that's different than all these other teams, -170 at 7.5 is Auburn. Why is Auburn going to win 8 games this year? Looking through their schedule here, let's skipping the easy games because they have 5 gimmies. But other than the 5 gimmies, I'm not sure that there's 6 wins on this schedule, let alone 8. You start at Baylor. We've talked on here before. We like Sawyer Robertson. I love Baylor in that matchup. Baylor's a 2.5-point home dog there. Love Baylor. And then you get a couple easy games. You go at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, Georgia at home, Missouri at home. That's 4 in a row. Then, Arkansas on the road. That's maybe we're going to call that a gimme for this purpose. Kentucky at home, we'll call that a gimme for this purpose. At Vandy, we'll call that a gimme for this purpose. And you still have Alabama coming to town. Like, that's a lot of tough games right there. I know people like Jackson Arnold. He hasn't shown any reason to like him. So people like Hugh Freeze, people like Auburn, people think they've paid all this money. I think I know that there's like Auburn fans who want him fired right now, who aren't happy with what he did in the transfer portal or recruiting and all that stuff. I don't get the Auburn. I was going to say I don't get the Auburn buzz. There isn't any Auburn buzz. Nobody's buzzing about Auburn. Nobody's hyped about Auburn. But Vegas, 7.5 at -170. I haven't even looked at what the juice is on the under. I'm assuming it's like +140 though. I love that number. Maybe my favorite under in college football.
They are +2,800 to win the SEC championship game. And I know that those are really difficult. That's a difficult market to win. But some of these conferences, you could hear and some people start make the case for some of these teams. And it's like, yeah, I could see that team in a national championship game. And if they're there, then they got a pretty good shot at winning it. And we'll see what happens. But really intriguing to see how this is going to be all play out as far as conference champions are concerned. Win totals, all that. We'll get the questions answered very, very soon. As I said, college football season right around the corner. Can't wait. I would just say the last week or so, speaking of teams, speaking highly, and just getting me to believe a little bit more. And I don't know. I don't know if I was doubting them, but yeah, it seems like that I'm starting to sip on the Clemson juice. You look at what they are doing defensively. You look what they did defensively last year. They struggled. They had one of their worst defensive years since essentially Dabo has been running. What they win eight out of the last 9 conference titles. It's incredible the run that they are on. So I wasn't buying them. It wasn't a matter of like who doubting them. It was more along the lines of like, could we see a Louisville, a new team come out of nowhere in the conference? But it is feeling. Oh, yep. Like you said, 2 L's up. It is feeling like Clemson will be there. We'll see. We'll see. Again, great week 1 matchup between LSU and Clemson. So really excited. And Colby checking in. Yeah, real quick. Colby Marcio, LSU plus 4.5 incoming. How about it? He likes that. He says the boys are buzzing. His heart's fluttering. Yeah, we are blessed to be a part of this right now. Yes. Big college football guy. We were talking in Chicago. Mikey P, appreciate you hanging out all show long. It will be interesting to see if teams that travel 3 time zones struggle ATS again this year. Mikey, I'd love to know that number. Yeah. I'd love to know that number.
It was really low. It was under 20%, I believe, straight up.
Well, we like those trends. Let's hop on them. All right, boys, excellent stuff. Again, next week we're going to be a little bit all over, but bottom line is the following week we'll give you one more episode before we get this bad boy started, man. Summer school class is in session. For Mark Henry Jr., Ryan Beef Coyle, Joe Tanzi, I'm Sean Brace. Make sure you follow us on socials. If you missed anything at PotsPHLGambler.com. We'll talk to you.